microphones. We're having trouble transcribing.
Oh.
And if you want to speak, I'm going to ask you to come up. This big crowd I have in front of me, please come up to here and speak into the microphone. Or you can speak into that one there, whichever one you prefer. But we're having a little trouble hearing and transcribing. So if you could be all that kind, I would appreciate it. Thank you. Jake.
All righty, ready for roll call?
Call the roll.
There you go.
She's gonna get old.
All righty.
I won't do that again.
Craig Kenworthy.
Here.
Brian Wiseman.
Here.
Carl English.
Here.
Robert Durantz.
Here.
Tony Donning.
Here.
I feel so loud now.
Okay, you all have a copy of the minutes in front of you. Hopefully you've had a moment or two to review them. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I motion to approve the minutes.
Do I have a second?
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Bless you. I will second.
All right. Anybody have anything they'd like to add or talk about when it comes to them?
I did follow up with Congressman Frank Burban's office about the potential for federal funding and grants to help support land acquisition and some of the potential groundwork for engineering plans for the Great American Rail Trail that Mitch presented last time, at the last board meeting. So I was connected with somebody in his office, and she sent me some information. We're a little late to get on the books for potential earmarks next year or grants next year. Those were all due about a month before Mitch came, all the requests. But we can plan forward and hopefully be part of that conversation next year for what would be 2025 funding with grants or earmarks through Frank's office, through congressional federal funding. So just got that conversation going. Per Mitch's presentation as to how we might be able to help support the development of that trail. So Porter County is not the last link in the state, in the country, to complete that trail. If you don't know what that is, the Great American Rail Trail is a trail that's going to connect Washington, D.C. to Washington State. And it's largely being built on old railroad beds. And a lot of it's done across the country. And a good chunk of it's done in portions of Indiana. But Porter County is, I think, the largest incomplete section in the state. So that's the thought process, is to begin working on a remedy to that, what that might look like, where it would go, and how we could get that down here in the county.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, I have, can we call the roll? I guess.
All right. Yeah. Craig Kenworthy.
Yes.
Brian Wiseman.
Yes.
Carl English.
Yes.
Robert Durantz.
Yes?
Tony Donning.
Yes.
Just one matter to refresh your recollection, because Craig refreshed my recollection since the last meeting, and that's one of the issues that kind of has fallen between the cracks, not necessarily anyone being culpable for that, but just people not getting back and whatnot, is the whole issue that Liberty Township has indicated an interest in some manner or fashion with the Brookdale House. And you'll remember the problem with that was that we acquired that land with Lake Michigan coastal zone management money, and there are some restrictions on what you do with the land after you acquire it with the grant funding. We investigated that in some detail with the coastal zone people, and we determined that they were comfortable if we would be leasing the house to Liberty Township. Liberty Township got back and said they'd really prefer to buy it. And so I started looking into the issue of could we sell the land, and the initial response from the level that we deal with in terms of grant people was that probably was problematic until I think it would be about 5 years from now is when we'd be eligible to get rid of it. But then they did agree to check up their structure and find out if there was any way that we could accommodate Liberty Township with the sale, and then it kind of just fell off the radar screen. So Craig reminded me the other day that that is still something we need to bring some closure to. So I have reinitiated my contact with the Lake Michigan Coastal Zone Program to try to get a definitive answer as to whether they would allow the sale of the property.
If they still won't allow that, is Liberty open to leasing in that time frame until we could sell it to them?
Yeah, we could, if that's where we get to it, then we could find that out. We really didn't go too deeply on that because they did want to buy it.
Get an answer first.
But we'll continue now to work on that, and I apologize that the ball kind of got dropped of pushing it any harder, although we've heard nothing from Liberty Township. And so we'll try to get an answer by next month's meeting for sure, what our options are. And my recollection is there was an interest among us to try to accommodate them if in fact we could. That's all I have for public discussion. Unless there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them as best I can.
When are we going to be on the schedule once again for the commissioners and council?
We were supposed to be on the 9th. That meeting has gotten canceled because they won't have a quorum, and my recollection is it's May 22nd.
I believe so, yeah.
And I think that's a morning meeting,
Yeah, it's at 10 a.m., I
10
believe.
o'clock in the morning, and if at all possible, as many of you as possible should come, because that's the linchpin of getting started with our whole strategy regarding the Pine Township property. That's all I have.
And after that, we're going for the council.
That's on Monday.
Right.
That's,
To refresh your recollection,
Monday
Pine
morning.
Township
It's a Monday
property
morning?
is titled in the name of the county of
It's a
Porter,
Tuesday.
not in our name.
22nd.
So the
22nd.
commissioners have to sign the deed to convey the property, so they're the first element in the process that they have to approve it. We've gotten preliminary indications that that may not be a very significant hurdle. They may be inclined to favorably respond to our request. Once we have their acquiescence, then the issue with the county council is that when we do sell it, the money goes back into the account from which it came, which is not a uniquely park department account. So we have to get their acquiescence in the theory that the proceeds will end up in the hands of the park department, and that's why Bob put together that at least initial thought on, I didn't want to go before the county council without at least some plan as to how the money would be spent, and that's what that exercise was for, and we'll make sure the county council people have that information and know what our intent is, not that we can't modify it a little bit at least, but I wanted to be able to say to them, this is the game plan right now as to how we're going to spend the money, so.
And I think one of the issues that I would foresee is that moving monies out of the lit fund, that typically is not allowed. Moving it into another, say, park fund for the long term typically would not be allowed. So we would have to essentially appropriate those monies, initially, and potentially have to reappropriate those monies every year until they're spent.
I have no doubt that somewhere along the process, we'll be dealing with an additional appropriation of some kind.
Right.
Whether it's like you said, if it's problematic to appropriate it out of the fund it's in just generically to the other fund, and I don't remember enough about that to know if that's going to be a problem, then we'd have to have the county council actually appropriate it into particular projects. And we just have to get a commitment from them that they would limit those appropriations to park-related appropriations. I think we can hopefully overcome whatever hurdles that might get. It's too good of an idea to get upset along the way, so. That's where that is.
okay. Any questions for Dave, anyone? All right, oh, wow, committees. We're gonna move into committee report. Land acquisition and improvement, Carl, there's really
we really haven't gone any further than what we discussed last time. I would like to say that Jake got the concrete poured for the first structure out at Sunset Hill Farm, and he said they're gonna start that on Monday.
Yep.
So that's there. For those of you who haven't been out there, the new playground is in. Yes, it's small, but it's safe. And we will be continuing to add on to that. So just know that we're doing all we can to make that happen. Jake has gotten hold of some folks, and we've got some things on order. It's a 9-month lead time, so it'll come here in December, January. Can't install it till spring, but it probably doubles the size of that.
Yeah, at least.
So it'll be a nice addition to the park out there, and it'll be up to date, safe, and ADA compliant. So
Carl, does that doubling include the swing sets?
that right now the swing set is not included in our price, or is it? He's got a smile on his face.
Well, it's included in the grand scheme price.
Right.
It's not part of the order that we just
Right.
signed.
So we'll double the size of the playground
Which one is it, the top
and
one?
have the swing sets.
And then we'll add the
Oh,
I
swing.
guess it is.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
That's
and
great.
that swing, that's a relatively new addition that we've kind of worked through as a need for that playground area. So we found a spot that it would fit. It's a 3-bay swing, so it's got the 2 standard seats, it's got a toddler seat, it's got an inclusive seat. So it also will improve our access to play for kids of all ages and abilities. But that one isn't ordered yet, as we've still got to do some additional fundraising to cover that one.
There were questions online relative to accessibility
Yep.
of the swings, and they were really very happy to hear how inclusive it'll be for everybody.
Yeah, that's been one of the biggest questions I've been getting asked is there going to be a swing? So,
Is that something that we can put online, that at least so people can see what they're looking for, and along with the QR code so they can throw
Yep.
$5 at it?
yep, so that rendering is on the website, or is going on the website, and then that is actually the rendering from Simcoe Signs that I've got a sign getting made to put out at the playground.
Awesome.
That'll have that QR code for
Perfect.
further donations.
Awesome.
That's what we've been up to.
Okay, budget and personnel, what's the next one?
We didn't specifically meet. I think we've all been looking over the emails and the planning and stuff like that. We're still waiting for some grants, official okey-dokies, and depending on how those go, I think if they get turned down, we'll be having some very in-depth budgetary discussions, but right now, I think everything's going along pretty smoothly. Tony, do you have?
Yeah, no, and I was at the council meeting, at the last council meeting, and the appropriation was approved with no problem,
Yep.
so.
Was that a reappropriation, or was it did we get funds for that?
I think that was an additional.
That was the
Was it additional?
transfer.
It was a
for-
transfer.
To
Okay,
cover
it
the
was a
cost of the
transfer.
playground.
Contract, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even
Just to
sit
cover
down
the
before it was
cost.
moved.
Yeah. They were moving things through pretty good.
I'm just looking forward to camp getting rolling here. It's going to be up before our next meeting, right? Up and moving?
Yeah.
June 1, something like that?
Yeah, it'll be up and moving.
It's
We'll
going
have 80 kids a week on site by the next
to be a great thing.
meeting.
All the counselors hired?
Half of them. We have the specialist teachers, the art, the STEM, the archery, and then we have 5 of the 10 standard counselors hired. So we're sitting pretty okay right now. I won't say good, out of fear of jinxing it, but we're sitting all right.
And Tyler's comfortable at this point? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's make sure we make that continue.
Yeah, yeah, staffing is still our biggest worry going into the season. We're ramping up, so our visitation's getting big, the program attendance is going through the roof. But we're addressing those staffing issues as they come up, figuring out where our long-term shortfalls are gonna be.
We got all of our PPE and everything squared away and online and ready to go. And
Yeah, we've got all the supplies ordered, everything for the summer operations, the mowing. We've already started mowing, so we're,
Afraid we all have.
so that's all I really had on that one.
Marketing and education? Anything, guys?
Well, do you want to discuss what you?
You want me to throw you under the bus now? I can do it now.
Let's talk about it, because in the 10, 15 minutes since we talked, my mind has already been churning on it, so
Okay.
I'm kind of excited about it.
I talked to Bob and I mentioned in brief, but my mind's been spinning on this. With Alkiki going in, we have miles of trails, and I want it to be an educational experience and try to get the community, and especially our children, involved in this new park that we've got going down there. So every trail and every place I go to has a little historical, I don't know, sign, document, banner, plaque, something going on. So I'm thinking, well, why can't we do that along the trails, you know, talking about the history of our Native Americans, the history of farming, the history of the Kankakee River, the history of, you know, some of our presidents, stuff like that. I don't know how to do that on an educational basis. And I'm wondering if we know a history teacher who might be able to come up with a matrix for that type of program to elevate what we really need to be talking about here in southern Porter County in history, and B, how to make it an educational experience for our community and our kids. So, there you go.
I think it's a great idea, and in fact, I think I might be the newest member of the Kankakee Valley Historical Society. I just joined
There you
this
go.
last week. I'm really excited about the fact that they are partnering with Notre Dame to have an archaeological dig at the Collier Lodge site, and that'll be this summer. So you had to be a member to be part of the dig, and I wanted to be part of the dig, so I'm a member now, so I can work with the Historical Association that are just fantastic about assembling the history, the significant history of the southern part of the county and the Kankakee River. A week or two ago, my wife and I were walking around that little park across from the library downtown. I don't know if you've been in that little park, the benches and whatnot, but I thought what was really fantastic is that from trees to rocks to benches, there were so many things that were sponsored by people and organizations in the community. And in thinking about this, Brian, I think it's not only an opportunity to have, when people arrive at Waikiki, they don't know what Waikiki means. They don't know that that was the native word for the Kankakee and the significance of that. So I think a board somewhere upon arrival that tells the history of what Waikiki means and the Native American culture in the area, but then to your point, you could then have a series of waypoints along the primary trail around the park that has little plaques that go into detail about specific parts of it. Have some sort of activity potentially for, especially for kids, but that's something that could be sponsored by people or organizations in the community. They would love to have their name on it, and it would help to pay for the installation of something like that, but just gives it another layer of cultural, local history significance. I love the idea. I would love to help develop what that might look like, so it was something really meaningful for Waikiki that really allowed people to leave the park, not only getting a mile walk in or a jog, but learning a little bit about South County history.
I think by the time we start sticking a shovel in, we can't do this year's school year, but next year we most certainly can, and start getting, and you know, we win so many contests, the kids are gonna get their names out there for eternity, and I just think it's a great way to include, but I don't have the education or experience to put together the matrix on creating a program like that, so I'm gonna take this and put it here to the teachers.
Well, I'll put my head to it and start thinking on it.
I have a book at home.
Thank you,
Published in
appreciate that.
1882
Okay.
of all the original settlers of Porter County.
Oh, wow. Well, I would
If
like
you want to
read
look
it.
at that sometime.
I would very
It's a
much.
very fragile book, but it's Lake and Porter County, the original settlers, and it talks about the Indians coming up, and there was the old wooden roads that they put in up north through the dunes and all that, but if you never want to use that as part of it, I'd let you look at it.
I would love that. Yep.
It's
You-
very fragile.
You know, Indiana Tourism up north,
Yeah,
they recently just put in a cultural trail
Yes.
that has a similar idea, so we may not have to recreate the wheel.
Yeah,
Right.
Lori would be a just
Yeah.
incredibly valuable resource.
Yes,
Yeah, I saw that,
absolutely.
I saw that in the newspaper.
Right, so, I mean, they've done a great job up there, so.
Never seen
I
it.
certainly could
And-
provide
and
some
with our-
guidance.
Yeah, with our goal being a dunes to river, Kankakee River Trail, ultimately with a 5-year master plan, that would be a great opportunity to connect all the cultural history from the dunes to the Kankakee as well, ultimately in collaboration with Lori. I love it. Thank you, Brian. That's a great idea.
So you guys got a plan.
I think we got something going here.
Well, It's
Awesome.
it's all about moving
Thank you,
forward.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Culture and recreation.
Culture and education?
And recreation.
Recreation. And education.
Education, yeah, culture and recreation, yeah. Education.
Wow,
The arts and the parks. That's right.
we're hitting all the points tonight. Yay. Maintenance. Carl, Brian, anything?
No, I don't think so. Looking at a couple of different, the house on 700, I think they were doing some stuff to kind of shore it up a little bit to make sure it stays.
Yeah, just a standard upkeep.
Yeah.
Where are you at with the equipment?
So we actually, we were able to place the order for the new batwing mower, the new finishing mower, the 14-foot finishing mower, and 2 zero-turns to replace our worst pieces. We were able to get that order through today. And then so now my plan to replace the third worst mower is to auction off the 2 mowers that we just replaced that barely run, and
Hope for best.
as long as, we'll talk in the microphone, and the green van that hasn't moved, I haven't seen it move yet, requires a chauffeur license if you transport anybody in it, so no one uses it. And then the existing batwing mower that is held together by a thread. And hopefully I can raise enough funds through the sheriff's auction with those items to buy that third mower that we'll need, and then we should be set on equipment for quite some time.
What kind of mowers do you buy?
We bought 60-inch zero-turn gas mowers.
60?
What brand did you get?
I'll have to pull it up. I had to quote it through Riggs and Bain Welker. I had them both do bids on it. Bain Welker couldn't source them, which was kind of weird.
So if they're,
they're
Riggs is gonna be a,
I've got a Hustler through Riggs.
It is.
And it's a Hoss.
It is a Hustler, actually, yeah.
it's a Hustler,
Yep.
okay.
Hustlers, good.
So they should hold up well. So those hopefully get here soon, now that we're mowing already. I watched them try to start 2 of our zero turns today for about 15 minutes before the one fired up. So,
Better days ahead.
one has a $2,000 engine repair that I held off knowing we were gonna get equipment money, so.
What's the lead time on the delivery of those?
They've got them in stock now, so it shouldn't be too long.
Super.
That was the issue the other companies were running into, is that they weren't, the demand was so high for a lot of what we were asking for. Most of the places didn't have it anywhere near that could ship it quick, or they were all called for. That was the issues we kept running into. And Riggs had them ready to go for us.
Awesome. Staff is gonna be happy.
Yeah, they're pretty excited. They were, you could watch them struggle with some of the equipment today.
Hey Jake, how late in the day is staff at Sunset Hill?
The maintenance staff is there till about 3:30. And then the programming staff, they're there all hours of the evening and night, depending upon what program they're running or which one of them has animal care that evening.
all right, that's maintenance. Now, we do have a final committee, and it's gonna be Brian and Carl about fundraising for a Kiki. I'm gonna put, since I've got a land acquisition improvement and a budget guy there, Brian's my vice president, so I put him on that, Carl's land acquisition. So, they're gonna do that from here on out, dealing with, but you will be keeping the board informed as it moves forward. They're working right now on, once again, we're still trying to figure out a number, and we'll all have to agree to that number for the naming rights, if we do naming rights for the park, what that cost, the percentage would be, whatever that, if we're gonna give naming rights to the park or change, for thing, put your name on it or be able to name it, whatever you wanna name it, there is going to have to, we're gonna have to figure out a percentage of the total project. So that'll be all amongst all of us will agree to it, but we've got to, they're working through that right now, trying to figure out what that, let's say it's a $3 million park, what's that number? Is that number 1 million? You get to name the park, or you get to name a bench, or you get to name a tree, or what is it, you know? So they're working through that right now, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. Beyond that, once again, like after last week, or last month, we're moving full forward ahead of trying to raise money to start that. So, that'll
There,
be,
I will say there has been considerable interest. People have been reaching out to us, and they're asking some of these very specific questions. So we're in the next, we were gonna be meeting with some folks this week, but there are some health issues within the family. So we're putting it off till next week. And once we get back from that, I think by June, we should have a basic preliminary report for the board to review and go forward from there. There's interest, but not comfortable yet until we have some more final details. That way we can go to everybody and tell them exactly the same thing, all within our policy.
I sent a really late email at about 5:30, so I don't know if you've sent it. And
I have not seen that yet.
my thought and question was that as we prepare to go public with fundraising for Phase 1, that I thought it would be a really great idea if we had created a rendering of what Phase 1 is going to look like when it's done. Parking lot, the lighting, landscaping, plantings, the trail itself, so people can tangibly see what Phase 1, I'm investing in Phase 1, and this is what it's going to look like. Not only that you can put on fundraising or social media, but next to where it's on the grounds. You know how people always want to see, what's going to happen?
Yeah,
You would love to see on a board, this is what it's going to look like, not just that it's Porter County Parks, a park is in development, Phase 1, but on a 8x4 board, you have that rendering so people could stand in front of it and look at it and feel more willing to donate towards something that's tangible, they can see.
Things like you're discussing are definitely on our matrix list to check off, and once we get that all checked off, we'll be able to present it to the board.
Awesome. Great. Thank
We
you.
just haven't had time yet to
Okay.
finalize our report.
and as we put together that policy, we will keep our attorney involved
Yes.
in all that. So we'll make sure Dave knows what we're doing. It keeps us out of trouble. Don't ever forget that about that
Stays in the
man.
loop.
He'll keep you out of trouble. It's his job.
Absolutely.
It's his job.
Everything goes through Dave.
Please.
Hey, Craig, can we talk about the naming right question here for a minute?
Sure.
Yeah.
So,
A little bit, yeah.
the potential, obviously, the more we have people wanting to contribute
Yes.
as sponsors, the better, to help
Yeah.
raise that money. Are we considering, I suppose this is a question that we'd talk about later, but I just didn't know how far that was gonna go. Are you considering the potential of the entire name of the park being up for grabs, or like an Urshel Aukiki Park, or
I think
More on those
Family
lines.
Express?
more along that line.
More on that line,
I think
yes.
that would be, in my own mind, to change the name of the park right now would be bad.
Yeah.
Now, to put Urshel at Akiki, such and such at Akiki Park, something, whatever, but we need to keep. that-
Aukiki's has to
Aukiki's
stay
gotta
there.
stay there. We
For
gotta
sure.
figure out a way to name
That's-
it in such a way to keep it there. I know, your daughter named it.
Oh, Kiki will be in the name somewhere that's already in bold letter, highlighted, italic, circled.
Well, that's the first I had heard of the potential of generating some revenue with naming rights to things or the park.
Well, somebody
Wasn't
came
sure
to us
the-
and asked us about it.
Okay, great. I wasn't sure
A
the
few
scope
weeks
of it,
back.
and I thought
Yeah.
I might as
No,
well
that's
say
that.
something rather than not.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, we're all very adamant in the fact that it needs to remain Aukiki. It's gotta be in there, period.
How it fits and
Yeah. We'll make it.
and that will be a discussion for the whole board.
Yep.
That is not gonna be a discussion.
Yeah, that's not gonna be Brian or I making that decision. It'll be a board
And did
decision.
Sophie come up with that name?
I gave you that piece of paper.
That's
Did
pretty
I?
cool.
Didn't I?
That was how many years ago? A decade ago?
They were
15
in
years
fourth,
ago?
they were in fourth grade.
Fourth grade.
Fourth grade when that
So
was
it
done.
was, what,
I believe.
15, 17?
Fourth grade, my son graduated in 2021. Go backwards from there. Go back 8 years back,
That's math, that's Tony's job.
2013?
Yeah.
2014?
13,
Yeah.
15, I thought I
Not
saw
good
something in
with
the
years.
in
I
an
don't
old
even know my
newspaper
own
clipping
birthday.
about it.
Yeah.
A decade
That
ago.
was-
That was Sophie's class that named, she was the one, that was her class that got the pizza party.
President Kenworthy's been pushing this for a decade or so, so.
Yeah.
He's been spearheading this for that long, so it's nice for him to be able to see some activity,
Slowly.
slowly but surely, at the speed of government.
I love that line. I don't know why. Okay, moving on. We have something here about the re-enrollment of the USDA Conservation Reserve Program.
Yeah, so that is, we have, the Park Board and the Park Foundation both have different parcels of acreage that is in what's called the USDA's Conservation Reserve Program. So it's essentially a lease program where we receive yearly payment from the USDA to not develop those parcels. So it works like sort of like a crop lease to not farm it.
Right.
Now, we've been enrolled in this for, I want to say a decade at this point. Like it's the renewal is what this is. So that came in the mail. So I've got 2 copies of that here. Sharon has already signed for the foundation's portion of it. So Craig, I believe you're the only one that has to still sign it on behalf of the park itself. So I'll actually just pass that down.
Someone make a motion.
Move that we re-enroll, whatever, we're re-enrolling? Yes. Re-enroll in the USDA Conservation Reserve Program.
I'll second.
Any discussions? This doesn't bring a whole lot of money in, does it?
No, it's a pretty minor amount in the grand scheme of things. It's just a nice program.
That out. Not sure what to sign this at.
Yeah, it's a convoluted document.
When we get after the meeting, you can show me exactly where to
Yeah, I
sign
can.
this. There's about 20 tabs in this thing.
Yeah, it's not a straightforward.
We have a motion and a second. Can we get any questions about it? Nope. Good. Roll call.
All right. Craig Kenworthy,
Yep.
Brian Wiseman,
Yes.
Carl English,
Yes.
Robert Durantz,
Yes.
Tony Dunning.
Yes.
Staff report.
All righty. So this will be a shorter one than my last few. I'm not asking for a half dozen things at this one. So I'll just kind of hit the highlights. Like we kind of hit on earlier, phase 1 of the playground's been done, that's installed. We're getting a lot of good feedback from it, so it is a good improvement. And then phase 2, the larger unit, the inclusive spinner and the climber have been ordered. We were able to successfully raise the funds necessary to cover all of that through grants, our own capital money that we had moved around earlier in the year, and the foundation. And then we're now working on raising the money for the swing set. And then the nice thing about such a long timeline, even if it takes us 2 more months to place the order for the swing set, the install still takes place at the same time. So it'll all go in at the same time. The new shelter's underway. The pad's been poured. Construction will start next week on the actual, the shelter itself. Working on the Land Water Conservation Fund grant for the restrooms for Sunset Hill. I'm writing that now. I am getting a couple more prices on concrete vaults. There are a couple other companies that are big in the country that do it. CXT and Norwalk. I'm not familiar with Norwalk, I am familiar with CXT. CXT did the first half of the state parks vault toilets, and then Huffcut, the company we got the first price from, did the second half. So I'm familiar with those 2 companies, but I want to see what the price comparisons are on those. Working on getting a list of old assets to put up for auction so we can get rid of some old stuff that we don't need to be harboring on site anymore and use that for better stuff. I'll work through maintenance once I get a list of, the maintenance committee, once I've got a list of all the things that we're wanting to sell, to make sure the committee and the board's on board with getting rid of those assets.
I think Gary Gear will be taking the lead on that.
Yes.
Has he already sent something out?
I haven't seen it for this year yet.
Okay.
But I reached out to, I think it was Renee in auditing to figure out
Hey, Jake,
how to do that. Yep.
this is the other world I live in, but I know that when I dispose of things for the school, the board has to give its blessing before you do
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah,
please bring
yeah.
that to us when you figure out what you're going to do.
Yep, once
I
I've
think that's
got,
got something to do with State Board of Accounts even.
yeah, there's a whole process
Yeah,
that
so-
we have to go through.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's just, please don't forget.
Yeah,
that stuff.
yeah, I wasn't just
Thank
gonna
you.
start selling stuff on the side of the road.
Whatever.
What's the time frame for the Chesterton Building and Trade kids finishing up the rabbit hutches?
So they are about halfway done now.
Right.
So hopefully, they'll continue on it tomorrow, and I imagine by the end of next week, it'll be done.
Fantastic.
We'll have a brand-new rabbit hutch.
I was hoping they'd finish before they went away for summer.
Yeah, oh yeah, it'll be done. This is their last project for the year, so.
Good.
So I'll have two questions on that. One, is it being documented on our website, it's showing that kind of activity and work going on? And two, is something like that in the Chesterton Times or the paper or something like
Well,
that?
very least, we have our social media outreach by the school itself. We have Dune News and the website where if we can get some photographs taken and do
Yeah.
a little write-up, we try to push the building and trades and those things that they're involved in as much as we can. Yeah. That would be great.
That works out perfectly.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's nice, for one,
It's a great
to show
collaboration.
people that stuff is happening, and two, for other people to go, oh man, our group would like to do some stuff out there.
Yeah, great collaboration.
So, thank you.
I will.
Good for everybody.
I will get that pushed out. Jackie and I are working on, staff planning for the spring, summer season, we're ramping up, so we're getting ready for that. Also working on grant writing, the next big grant that we've submitted. I don't know if I talked about it at the last meeting, but we submitted a grant for another round of Lake Michigan Coastal Program grant money to help with programming costs, camp costs, naturalist pay costs, seasonal staff costs, programming supplies, educational outreach, in the total of, it was just over $37,000 is what we asked for this time. So that would be in addition to the $36,000 we already got previously. And then we'll get on a revolving year basis with that, because these grants are both from old money that they didn't spend through previous grant cycles. So, because I missed the window to get on this year's grant cycle from last year's application process. So when we get into the summer, I'll apply for the current fiscal year's grant process, because they run on a 16-month window. And that'll get us on the current year. So the youth track registration is open for Sunset Hill and Boone Grove Middle School. We've got 4 track meets scheduled for June. And then as of April 26th, there were 28 runners registered for the Boone Grove team and 57 registered for the Sunset Hill team. We've got a collective 21 volunteer coaches so far this summer. The first 5K of the season was held on April 29th. It went well. I didn't get any bad feedback from it. And then on programming, month started strong. We had over, this is where our programming attendance is starting to skyrocket. And this is where I think pushing the rabbit hutch on social media will be a big hit too. On the Friday Meet the Animal program, we had 250 people show up.
That's outstanding.
And then on the Saturday Meet the Animals program, there were 150 people. We are booked 5 days a week for field trips through the end of the school year. So our last field trip is May 19th, so that's the last field trip. We're booked 5 days a week up to that point. And then we revamped the preschool farm hands to preschool farm and garden, so we're utilizing the community garden more. And we're getting better feedback from the joint program, the larger scale program, the farm and garden, than we were with just the preschool farm hands. So we almost maxed out the first class on that one. So in April, there were 21 field trips and 372 students that came through Sunset Hill for our field trips. All the May dates are full. Chesterton Building Trades, working on the rabbit hutch. So that is, actually I'll pass a picture around of it. If I can get it to stay open long enough. It's kind of the progress that it's been going on so far. So there's about halfway done. The frame's been built.
What's that? Oh, the hutch.
Part of the first
Yeah.
portion of the hutch.
You wanna see
Good.
it?
So the 5th and the, or is it the 6th and the 13th? When are the next 2 days for Meet the Animals?
It is the first Friday and second Saturday.
Is that how it works?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thank you.
Once we're more stable in staffing levels, next year we'll probably run it every weekend is the plan. We've got to stabilize our staff. Turnover is still a big issue that we're facing. So we can't plan too many weekends of these. On any given moment, we may not have the staff. But next year the plan is to make that every weekend until camp starts. All right. So the maintenance guys installed put the new engineered wood mulch down around the playground, the new playground, and the very low areas in the natural playground. So that area almost looks brand new now.
Looks very nice.
It's the park's version of shiny with new playground mulch.
Clean
So there's
mulch.
actually,
Looks great.
there's been an uptick in kids using the natural playground as well now.
Good.
It's kind of brought them out that way as well. And then we got, in addition to the trees that Brian gave us and the ones from Home Depot last year, I believe it was, we also received 49 trees from NERC to plant, and then we've also received close to a dozen trees from Purdue Extension fruit trees. So we're going to be planting over 60 trees as well this year at Sunset Hill.
Are the fruit trees being put out by the bees?
We're going to put them by the community garden. We're going to make it part of the community garden. Most of them anyways, they won't all fit there.
I put some by the bees, they'd probably like them.
Hey Jake, who's picking the animals in the winter?
The animal winter boarding was actually kind of a unique solution. So my wife's family is all farmers. So they've all got infrastructure for cows, horses, goats, sheep. So they're actually going to take the sheep and the goats for us in the winter because they have the pens and the barns and the lean-tos already. So it's actually me, basically.
Awesome. Well, hey, it's great though, because that's one less thing we gotta worry about losing animals in the wintertime.
Yeah, and that is gonna be one of the biggest easing ups of winter operations is now that with keeping the larger animals that require day-to-day checking all the time, like the sheep and the goats that require, twice-a-day checks every day, because they do. Having those boarded somewhere where there's, at someone's farm where they're taken care of all the time anyways, with us not having to do that, it takes a lot of our winter workload down on the weekends so they can focus more on that administrative side, more programming activities through the week, because now we're not having to spread hours on the weekends.
Excellent.
Great, thank you.
And then we're doing a couple different surveys with the communications. We're trying to get some public input for what kind of programming they'd like to see out of our Parks Department, what new programming they'd like to see, what programmings they like, kind of where their thoughts are with that. And then one for the public input portion of the Land Water Conservation Fund is public input. So we did a news release to let people know that we were applying for it, and that the meeting date was today if they wanted to ask questions about it. And then the public input survey will be linked on the website where they can either voice their support or not support for us going for the federal grants. That's all I got.
Okay, going back to the mowers and all that stuff,
Yeah.
I think we need to make a motion as to the approval to purchase, which probably kind of sent the paperwork in already, and then what the cost would be, with the amount, if we can do that,
Yeah, I think I can.
the rough cost.
Yeah, so the total cost for those mowers was, for all that, for the ARPA money expenditure, came in just under that 50. I couldn't get it to hit 50 right on the dot without it going over. So it came in at 48, I want to say 48,230, something,
Okay.
just under the max ARPA allotment. So we do have about, I want to say 1,300 left that we have to spend. So as long as, and I did check with auditing this week, as long as it's on capital items, we can spend it
Okay.
how we need to. So that's,
Another weed whipper or whatever, right? Stuff like that.
yeah, I mean, we've got chainsaws that we need to replace. We've got smaller mowers that we
Good.
need to replace as well. So we'll spend every dollar of it.
We have plenty of equipment we need to get.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not hurting for needs.
So, that being said, I'll make a motion that we approve the purchase of 2 new 060 Hustlers and a new Batwing
It's a-
Correct.
The cost of.
for the cost of $48,230. Yes.
Second?
I second that.
Any discussion? Jake, call the roll.
Craig Kenworthy,
Yep. I just need to.
Brian Wiseman,
Yes.
Carl English,
Yes.
Robert Durance,
Yes,
Tony Donning.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably should have.
With the bowl. That's all right.
I think you had
My
sent it
bad.
to the committee at least, so.
Yeah, that's the 10-year portion of the project right there.
I just, if someone says, did you spend that money? Yeah.
Did
Who authorized that? Now you're authorized.
Now you're authorized. You're so authorized.
hey Jake, is the first Prost in the park June 1st?
Is the what?
The first Prost in the park, is that what you're calling it? The beer garden,
Oh, yeah, June 1st or June 3rd.
June 1st to 3rd?
Yep, I think it's that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I believe.
Okay, great. And did I make that up, or are we calling it Prost in the park? thought
I feel like I saw that on, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was great. It's a good name.
Yeah, I leave those kinds of things up to the marketing guy.
Are we having the
Gross.
are we having the park board meeting that night at the?
I would, I would have it at sunset.
I think we might be onto something.
There you go.
I like the idea. I'd like to second that motion.
But,
Hey, y'all, just show up.
but we are planning to have more food trucks there, more of the days. That was the biggest negative feedback we got, was there weren't food trucks after the first day. So food trucks themselves are a big draw.
Are we also being
We have it in the silo?
cognizant of not scheduling on top of the 4-H fair this year? I
Yeah,
think they overlapped last year, and I probably heard attendance.
yeah, they overlapped with, honestly, yeah, it was the Porter County Fair.
Yeah,
Yeah, and the July attendance was bad.
yeah, so we're not overlapping this year?
No.
Okay, good.
Tony, I don't mean to step on your shoes, but I'd like to make a motion that we do meet out at Sunset Hill. And we'll have our meeting in the...
It's the first Thursday of the month.
In the
First
beer
Thursday of the
garden?
month.
Is that where?
No, in the silo, not in the beer garden, in the silo.
But we can walk afterwards to the
Yes.
beer garden and.
We'll be close.
So I'd like to make that motion.
I would happily second that.
Do we need
I just feel that
discussion?
there is a little bit of
I
arrangement.
just want to say it's difficult when we're in the silo to do the minutes.
It is.
Because we have to have an outside recorder, digital recorder. And it's okay, but it's a little bit more difficult when we
Well-
have to do the minutes.
Well-
And I speak for Debbie, I'm not
Okay.
sure.
What if we do it in the program center?
Either way, we still have to bring in.
Okay, I'm just asking. I mean, I know it doesn't echo near like the
I'm
silo
just
echoes.
letting you know, it's
Yeah, the
just,
echoes.
there's just a little twinge to meeting at the park with the minutes. I just wanted to, mention that, because it is a little bit.
Understood.
We have a digital recorder, but here it's just.
Easier.
When I was doing the minutes, it was easier to do when we were in the chamber. If you go out there, then you have to make sure that everybody is caught on tape, and you have to figure out who's speaking.
I'll buy her a beer.
Make it two and we're good. Done. Make it two, we're good.
As long as Deb gets her.
You're done.
Okay.
Debbie drives a hard bargain.
All right, you doubled your pay for the night. Okay, I've got a motion and a second. Any discussions? Call the roll.
All right. Craig Kenworthy,
Yep.
Brian Wiseman,
Yes.
Carl English,
Yes.
Robert Durance,
Of course.
Tony Donning.
Absolutely, yes. I'll bring my own stein.
I'm gonna pretend my vote counts and say yes on it.
So then we are, just so everybody knows, now we are moving our June 1st Park Board meeting to Sunset Hill. You will let us know what building we're going to be in, right, Jake? Either the
Yep.
program center or the silo, correct?
Yep,
Okay,
I will make that known.
all right.
Hey, what are the hours of the beer garden?
2 to 6. It's gonna be a heck of a meeting.
It's still open after our meeting, though. It's a very, very fast meeting.
Move the meeting to 4.
Could you guys give everybody an incentive to just, yes, yes, yes. Okay, we're moving on. NIPA. Oh, you're not NIPA.
Am I allowed to talk yet? Or
No.
Finish?
No. You were at the very end. You are public comments.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't have a paper, so I didn't. I'm sorry.
You get it done.
Hello, I'm Deb Armstrong from the Northern Indiana Historical Power Association, and I'm the treasurer. We have been pretty active out at the park, and Jake came to our last meeting, so there's improved communications with the park, which is really nice. And we will be planting our summer crops pretty soon. We've got winter wheat in already that we'll probably harvest the hottest day of the year in July. I think we've talked before about trying to notify the park so people could come out and watch. It's quite interesting to watch. We have our first workday will be Saturday the 13th, and we have our board meeting is the second Wednesday, so it'll be the 10th of May. Of course, we're having our picnic June 10th that you all are invited to. That's a Saturday, 1 to 4, June 10th. And we're planning ahead for this year's show. We've got a lot of continued partnerships. That we've got the rail rig guys will be out there the weekend of our show, which is always a great opportunity. And they're open, they'll be there Friday for Education Day as well, which is fantastic. We've also partnered with the ABATE group. They help us with our gate, and the local ROTC, I think it's Portage ROTC, volunteered with us last year, as well as the Washington Township Key Club. We're always looking for other partnerships as we go. We're working up to our Education Day, which will be Friday. We try to typically host the fourth graders and tie it into Indiana history. We've already emailed all the schools, and I've got positive feedback, several classes already interested in coming. Porter County schools, the city, Valpo City schools, and the township schools of Duneland and Portage as well. We invite to our Education Day. So
What day is that?
that's on Friday of our show, which is the last full weekend in September. I think it's the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. So that's always a big hit to get Education Day. We'll also partner with the Cedar Lake Farmers Market, so we got a lot more families coming to our event the last 2 years. And we partner with LaPorte County and also Lake County Tractor Clubs, and we demonstrate at their shows, so they like to come and help demonstrate at ours. Lake County Club, the South Lake County Antique Historical Society, they have a new handicap wagon that we'll have access to for our show. So that's a big benefit. So we continue to do wagon rides. We'll be at the Meet the Animals Day. We try to make that. And so, but yeah, it was nice having Jake at our meeting, so answer a lot of questions. He showed us the new site, which he had complete NIPA buy-in on the new picnic shelter. I think that will be right in the middle of our feature tractor area, and it's perfect, yeah.
Good.
That will be perfect. So we're excited about that.
Awesome.
So I think the only question I had was at Camp Fun Set, are they going to need the open base of the NIPA shop again? I don't know if you talked to Jake or those guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the hope is that we can use that NIPA clubhouse for camp this year.
Okay, the open part where you put
Yeah.
picnic tables in there, okay.
Yeah.
I'll just make sure they want to get those bays cleaned out before. So.
Awesome, we appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, any questions?
What time are your monthly meetings?
Monthly meetings are 7:30, second Wednesday of every month, and the last Wednesday is our membership meeting. And everybody's welcome, the public's welcome to both of those meetings. So second Wednesday and last Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. at the NIPA shop. We also talked to Jake. We had some memorial money that, one, we're doing a scholarship to the 4-H group this summer, and then we want to build a bench area We thought maybe right behind the Nippa shop. We talked to Jake a little bit about it. It may be next year before my landscape guys get a plan to you, but we'll have, get the park to approve that before we do more of a permanent structure. We're thinking maybe a patio with pavers. We might even do it as a fundraiser to put your name on, or your loved one on a paver. We have a lot of past NIPA members that people fondly remember. But a bench area that kind of overlooks the back field and the windmill field, and so, yeah. Any questions from the board? Or I know we're doing some building, some of the building maintenance is on our workday list, so if y'all want to come out and see what we're doing, what we need help with, that would be great. So,
Thanks, Deb.
Thanks, Deb.
welcome.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Well, we're getting ready to open this weekend. And the problem we're having, rain. We've had so much rain that we haven't been able to get out there to do as much as we wanted to. We've got guys working every day this week. We got all our trains running out there. That's the most important thing, and all our buildings and everything are coming out slowly but surely. But we had to rebuild our temporary fence. The wind just literally tore it up over the winter, so we had to put our temporary fence back up with new snow fence. But we're right now, we know we're going to be spending $13,000 for the new fence, okay? And we're still a little over half on that. We're hoping that with the jars out this year and we get going, it added quite a bit this past year. We're hoping it does the same this year. So, and we got a couple other ideas. If everybody, our biggest trouble is everybody's got other clubs to be in besides their own, and to get everybody together, we're having a little trouble right now. Now, once the trains get going, everybody all of a sudden is there.
Once the work is done.
Yeah. So, but we're trying to get further ahead on that, and I think that's it.
All right. Anybody got any questions? Thank you. Hey, public comment.
This is,
Do you want to be a
a
regular
lot
on
of you
this
know
agenda?
me. I'm Steve Bensing, president of the Duneland Photography Club. Got a couple members of the club here with me too. Deb Armstrong is actually part of our club, and Peggy Carter, she's our public relations person in the club. So we're glad that we can partner with the Porter County Parks. We kind of view that we have the opportunity to bring people into the parks, and we have also the opportunity to bring the parks to people. So that's part of the thing that we do with our photography. You know, we meet each month at Sunset Hill on the first Tuesday of the month is when we meet. And so that, you know, you'll see us out there. And then we have other activities. For example, we teach some classes that are for the parks, but to bring the public in. So the first one we got coming up this year is May 20th, which is the photography trail, which is going to be at Sunset Hill. There'll be 5 stations at different places in the park. And we'll have members of our club teaching different photography lessons and using the facilities of the park to do it. For example, one of them is at the Railway Garden, and so people can learn how to take pictures of things that are moving. And that's kind of a fun thing. But we're using those facilities and bringing people in for that. On a monthly basis also, we provide photos for an online Porter County Parks calendar. And what that does is a couple things. One is it brings our club members to the different parks to take pictures. And then secondly, it's something to show people the parks by seeing the photos that we have. So we try to get pictures at all 4 of the county parks. This past month, we were a little heavy on Brink Across, because for the spring, that's a wonderful place to take flower photos. But all of the parks, we try to get in there. So that's one of the other things that we do. One of the things that we've been asked to do is to take photos for Camp Funset this year, and we're in the process of gathering volunteers. I think we got 8 or 9 so far. And so we're going to have volunteers come the different weeks of Camp Funset and get photos of the activities that are going on for that. And then the parks can use those to put something together to show what Camp Funset is about, and also kind of for the people that, the kids and families that are part of that, they'll have something to remember their experience there at the camp. So those are just kind of a highlight of some of the things we do. And I just, Peggy brought up an idea of a quest, and I thought, well, you know, one of the things we meet in the grain bin, which is a wonderful space, because we used to meet in the old program center, and we're too big for that now, you know, but we love the place. The acoustics are rough.
The acoustics are rough.
As you know. And so, you know, one of our dreams is that sometime that'll be looked at a little bit, and maybe some kind of baffling or something could be put in to make it a little bit better. We have a little machine that we have a microphone, you know, portable microphone and speak, yeah, karaoke machine, okay. And it works great, you know, yeah. And it does help us so that we can even pass the microphone if different people speak. But it's still, the room is tough, and Peggy is like me, we're hearing impaired, so it's a little tougher to hear in a place like that. So, you know, we're asking that will be looked at, and that would be the only really big improvement for that facility that we are thinking of right now. So I just wonder if you all have any questions of us.
You know, the event that you're planning, where you have the different stations,
Yes.
are you offering, is it only for camera equipment, or do you also offer help with cell phone photos?
Oh, exactly. Matter of fact, Deb she has one of the stations, which is going to be over by the animals. And part of what she's going to be doing is really cell phone photography. So we do that. We actually have classes in cell phone photography. Deb's one of our teachers too, and she's great in teaching that particular thing, because there's a lot of things you can do on a cell phone. And one of the things she taught me was this: the best camera is the one you have with you. So that may be your cell phone, but there's a lot you can do with that. So that's one of the things that we want to give people the opportunity to do.
And when is that event again?
That's going to be on May 20th. It's 1 to 4 p.m. And the first station will be at the Hickory Shelter, is that correct? The Hickory Shelter, and that's where people can check in, and then we'll go from there.
Very good.
Okay. Any other questions? Well, thank you for having us here.
Thanks for what you do for the parks, we appreciate it.
He took your thunder.
I was gonna just bring up about the acoustics, because we have a lot of out speakers from different areas, and sometimes it's just hard.
We know it's a struggle. I'm well aware it's a struggle.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have your meeting there.
Yeah,
You're
I
gonna
know.
see.
We have.
I'm not going to get too deep into the weeds, but we realize it's a struggle.
What's that?
I'm not getting too deep in the weeds, but we do realize it's a struggle, and we're trying to
If you
think.
want to use our karaoke machine, that's okay.
It's got a disco light? I'm in. You know.
Hey,
But yeah,
boy, this is just getting better and better, man.
You guys stay out of the beer garden until after the meeting adjourns. Okay, guys,
I could walk home
well,
from there.
everybody, thank you for coming, and I guess we'll see you all
President?
June 1st.
Well,
Yes,
I'll
sir.
make just a quick statement. I'm glad he brought up Brinkett Cross. I've been noticing on our counters that Brinkett Cross is consistently our number 2 place, and sometimes giving Sunset Hill a run for its money on visitors. I was out there not long ago, and the weather was not like this. It was pretty chilly, a little drizzly, and I don't know about anyone else, but I'm on vacation. My recreation time is very valuable. I saw a license plate from Ontario. So somebody from Canada is choosing our parks for their recreation, and they were not here on a visit, they were definitely traveling. That back of that little car was just jam-packed with everything, and I just thought it was kind of neat that somebody from a whole nother country is taking their valuable recreation time to visit one of Porter County's parks.
Thank you.
It is a beautiful park.
Okay, yeah, I'll try this again. I will see everybody June 1st at Sunset Hill. So,
Wonderful.
6 o'clock. Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming.
I have been trying to find like sound dampening curtains.